Do you think that the WEF are responsible for the inheritance tax?
Recently, and you can't say whether it's right, wrong or indifferent, but before the budget came out, Keir Starmer had Bill Gates and the chief exec of BlackRock at number 10. And then we have that budget come out, and then we understand that there's a fund maybe backed by some money from BlackRock to buy the farmland. Coincidence?
Well, when you put it like that, perhaps not.
Trouble is, each time I've been a conspiracy theorist, it comes out as fact. So I'm not sure whether I'm a conspiracy theory factualist or a factualist conspiralist.
Can I ask why you're here today?
Yeah, absolutely. Come here to protect the farms, really, and try and get Keir Starmer to reverse this ridiculous tax grab that he's trying to take on farmers. It's just not viable to pay it. It'll end British farming. Absolutely be the end of British farming as we know it.
Can you tell me what it would look like in a material sense? So if you had to pay inheritance tax, what would happen?
So our farm, we'd end up probably selling 20% of it. There wouldn't be much way out of not selling it. I mean, we looked at the figures as whether you could pay it back over 10 years. It's just not viable. You'd have to be on the 45% tax bracket. You'd be paying back £2 million to pay off the value of our farm. And it's not a big family farm. It's viable as it is. It wouldn't be viable if it was much smaller. So that's where we are, really. It's the whole thing seems just totally spiteful.
I work for a couple of farmers that do own farms, and they're very anxious about it. But I'm also thinking of other industries that we're losing here in the UK. We've lost the steel industry. We're losing car industries now. I don't know. Well, the government needs to wake up before it's too late, and hence that's why I've sacrificed my time here now to sort of put my views into the city.
How has Brexit impacted your farm?
Brexit was always going to be a very good idea, but unfortunately it's not been implemented the way it should have been implemented. And again, the government may be the government, but it's the civil servants in there, which are the same people all the time, and if they don't like things, I'm sure they probably don't let it go through, or they adapt or change it to suit their narrative. And we can't work from home like they want to all the time. The sheep won't come round to my house to be fed, so I have to go out to them.
Do you think that it's been better or worse for farms since we left the EU?
It depends on what you're doing and what you're farming. It's not just the EU with it, that would be part of it, but our welfare for our animals, which is what the legislation is and what we do, the other countries don't have that, but they make us do this. It costs more then to look after the animals, and then the people want to buy cheap imports.
Would you say we should rejoin the EU?
No.
What if it's not as good now?
It's never been good, and most of it's going to fall apart. They're all going to leave, and I can't quote on what it was said, but the EU Polish lady was speaking the other day, and the president of it just looked at her in disdain and smirked.
So they don't care either about farmers?
No, they don't care either about farmers, but they were talking about immigration at the time, and this lady was concerned that her daughters can't go out, her friends can't go out because of all the knife crime, all the rapes and all the different things, and they allow it with the immigration.
It's increasingly got worse. I think a lot of farmers voted for Brexit in the hope that a lot of the red tape would have been cleaned up, and it's something you can't blame Labour for, is it? The Conservative government were fairly weak on the run out of Brexit, and they could have done better. But it's still there. It's getting worse. They're looking at fertiliser taxes now. England is a brilliant place for gilding any law. If you have an EU law and you go to England, then you make it a worse law.
There seems to be the sort of, I suppose, a media outcry that you're all very cash rich Is that not true?
Well, it's not true at all, and I think the public were on side with us. All the way up here from our farm, everybody was cheering. They could see the tractors with the writing and the flags and things on, and they do know the difference. And I'm sorry, but we've got to thank Jeremy Clarkson for a lot of it, because Country File showed all the fluffy bits. Jeremy Clarkson shows how farming's all about, how you have to work, how you do this, how you do that, and we earn very little. We may have spent recently £1 million on tractors and things, but we've got to pay that back over 5 years. My car's 16 years old.
Well, he needs to pull his socks up and sort of act for the majority of the public, because clearly he isn't at the moment.
But what would your message to Keir Starmer be today?
Would you like me to be polite?
You don't have to.
I would say fuck Keir Starmer if you don't want me to be polite. But my message to him would be that if he actually wants to keep farms, if he claims that he wants to protect British farmers. If he wants to protect British farmers, the answer is he's got to admit that he's wrong. If he doesn't admit that they've been wrong on this budget, then he's not there to protect us. It's deliberate. It's as simple as that. There are figures out there. The NFU have done figures, the CLA, even DEFRA have done figures on it. And they've all disagreed with what Rachel Reeves has said, and yet they will not turn around and back down. So if they don't say we got it wrong, then the answer is absolutely a deliberate attack on the countryside and British agriculture, and it's more than that. They're already trying to sign deals with the likes of BlackRock and Bill Gates, and it won't even end up belonging in this country. They're coming up with these stupid ideas that maybe people will be able to get into farming with small farms. That's not viable. You try and get into farming, what are you going to do? You're going to have a lifetime career as being a farmer. So what do? You go going into a job where you can earn yourself £3-4 million by the time you're 30 years old, and you're in a job that you can earn £4 million by the time you're 30, and you go into farming for a 1% return on investment. I think you probably would say, as a career choice, that would be absolutely crazy. And so really the land is not going to go to new farmers, it's not going to go to young farmers, it's going to go for greenwashing, it's going to go for international corporates. It will not be bought up by farmers.
What would your message to Keir Starmer be today?
Resign.
Resign.
Yeah, he's not. He may listen to us. He plays lip service. He's not going to do anything. But unfortunately, he's not in a position to do anything because he doesn't run the country. He ruins the country. He doesn't run the country for the voters. I think there's an ulterior motive all the time, and he's listening to the puppet masters, and he's just a puppet. And whatever they say, he does, and we suffer.